Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Rick dropping in on you. Hope everybody is having an unbelievable week to this point. Hope that everything that you are set out to get done, you have set out to get done, is happening for you. But remember what I always say, because things will not always go as planned and will not always align as you will like them. But remember that if you're still breathing, you are still in the fight. I have had to remind myself that on many occasions. I make sure that I share when I'm speaking, when I'm lecturing, or when I'm sharing with an individual. I make sure they understand that, yes, I've been able to do some pretty remarkable things over the course of my life, but they all came behind failure. This idea that failure is uh, unacceptable or failure is not an option will set you up for failure, because failure is how you get there. Failure is how you learn. Failure is how you learn what not to do. Failure is how you learn who not to do it with, and so much more. And it is behind failures that I've achieved. And so you get knocked down, you get scraped up, you get kicked around, you experience setbacks, you experience difficulties, frustrations, and it can seem like a lot of times life is unfair. But one thing I promise you, if you commit to finish what you started, if you make up in your mind that you're not turning back, that you're not giving up, that you're not going to relent, things happen. It's about finishing. It's about going the distance. And that's what I want to encourage you to do out of this. Today is Wealth Building Wednesday. I'm not going to be long before you. Real briefly, in the description box is the link to check out our flagship program with this, which is the Path to Generational Wealth course. It's an 18-month course. It took me 10 years of researches and interviews with the top performers in finance to create this course. This is way above my pay grade. I'm still learning from it myself and still learning from those people myself. But I can tell you that if you could master 20% of this, your life will change. Also, if you don't have at least two streams of income that are independent of someone else, meaning that you created them, you control them, nobody can fire you from them, you need to check out the 7-day online business launch course, which is an unbelievable and highly proven method. It's the blueprint I've used for over 14 years from my businesses online. And I'm showing you how to do it step by step to create multiple streams of income, which is going to be very important as we move forward this year. Now, today is real simple. Sometimes it's not mechanisms, it's principle. Mechanisms are the things you use to make something happen. A mechanism is the stock market. A mechanism is investing in real estate. Those are the mechanisms and that support the practices. But there are principles that you have to understand. One of the principles that has consistently been drilled in my head since I started my own endeavor years ago, and definitely since I started consulting with some of the greater minds in finance, is know how the game is played. One of the most foolish endeavors that I can see, and not just in the realm of finance, but uh, in general, is engaging in something you don't understand. I say this often when I'm speaking on my platform on YouTube to the Black Voice, on the Black Voice platform, that you lose because you don't understand how things work. You are manipulated because you don't understand how things work. A great deal of the world of finance is a zero sum game. What does that mean? That means somebody wins, somebody loses, especially when you start talking about the stock market. Um, it's a trade. So somebody's getting something, somebody's buying something, somebody's selling it. One of them is going to win, one of them is going to lose, at least in the short term. Somebody's taking something, somebody has to be giving it, and it's a zero sum game. So then, if you don't know how the game played, you become the person who everybody else uses to build their portfolio. In you're playing the game, which I commend you for. If you're in the stock market, you're playing the game. You are in a place where the instruments are present to enrich you. But if you don't understand how the game is played, people will use your ignorance in that to manipulate you, to win off of you, prime example. One of the biggest mistakes people make is when they see a downturn in the market and their uh, their price per share start to drop. And so the value of each share that they own in a particular company is dropping. They panic and what? They sell. First thing you have to understand in that one particular instance, again, how things work, how the game is played is that loss that you're seeing on your screen while you're watching the analytics on your particular stock portfolio, that movement isn't realized until you transact. What does that mean? That means that I can look up and I can see that my um, stock in Apple is dropping. And I can sit up there and know that as long as I don't sell it, I haven't realized that loss. In other words, it's dropping in value, but I own it. So when it rebounds, which most viable companies will find a way to do, there's going to be fluctuation in uh, value of any particular instrument of wealth, whether it's art, whether it's precious metals, whether it's precious gems, whether it's oil and gas, whatever it is that you're investing in, there's going to be a fluctuation in price. What you have to understand is the companies that have been consistently good over the years will normally recover from heavy hits or even crashes. Which we haven't seen in a while, but we have seen a heavy hit back in the early 2000s, which was a very impactful recession. These companies have recovered. And so then what happens is if I hold it, I just simply allow it to recover. And that's what real true wealth is about. It's finding companies that perform and investing in those companies and holding, manage it, stay on top of different things that go on that impact the movement of value. Current events around the world will shift financial movement and volatility in the market, and you need to understand that. And the more you learn, the more you are able to move. But the one thing you have to understand is there are people literally sitting by when the market starts to turn down and you start to get a bear market that's pushing prices down, which is normally the response, the result of an of a correction. And sometimes it'll overcorrect. A correction is when stock prices are going up and they are valued at a higher level than they're actually worth. The market always corrects itself. And sometimes it will overcorrect, especially if the bubble is big. And when the bubble pops, it drops drastically, but then it'll realize itself and it corrects. And it's been doing this for over 100 plus years. And so what do? You have to sit up and understand that this company will rebound. But what there are people sitting around waiting for you to panic and sell. These are called crisis investors. They just sit around and wait for stock prices to drop. One of the things I remember Ray Dalio saying is, and Ray Dalio is the person who manages the largest hedge fund in the world, $165 billion hedge fund. And he said the stock market is the only place where stuff goes on sale and people panic. So when the prices drop, they're on sale. And that's what crisis investors do. They sit around and wait for people to sell. I remember when I first started looking into the stock market years ago, and one of the questions I had was, okay, the stock prices are dropping and people are panicking and they would talk about a sell-off. And I'm like, everybody's selling it. And my question then was, who is the dummy buying it? It's going down. It's the person who's done their research and know the true value of the stock, not the movement of the market. And there's a difference. The value of the stock is what it's going to ultimately be worth when things stabilize. The movement of the volatility of the market will drop the price of that stock. But did the value really drop? And that's how you have to understand. You have to understand the difference between price and value. And nothing makes it more valuable when it drops and somebody sells it to you for a fraction of what it's really worth because they panic. And once you sell, now you have lost that money because you've transacted out of ownership of that stock. But if I hold it and it drops, I haven't actually lost anything except for on paper or what I'm looking at on my screen. I haven't realized the loss because I haven't what? Sold. And so understanding these things and understanding how those things happen and how those things work is exactly how you get on in the game. It's like anything else. And then I'm going to end this. Like I said, I'm not going to stay with you guys long today. But it's like anything else in life, whether it's getting into the gym, whether it's getting into golf, whether it's getting into business, definitely business. You go in and you got an idea, and in your mind, this idea is just the most awesome thing in the world, but you don't take time to understand how things work. You don't do a business plan to hammer out a specific strategy, a specific trajectory of how you're going to enter into a specific market where your business will serve a target audience, and then you don't follow up with a marketing research, a marketing analysis to determine who the target audience is, who's the dominant entity within the market. In other words, who has the largest share of the market and how are they moving? Are you even capable of competing with that particular, or do you find a niche in a corner that nobody's really serving in the market and meet that need, and all of these things? And so you just jump out there on an emotional whim. You don't understand how things work, but you know you have a good idea. You feel great about it, and you bump your head, you fall flat on your back, and you feel like, man, that was dumb. And now you're a little bit more averse to going out and doing it again because you think that that's what happens all the time. And you're going to, even if you're prepared, you're going to get hit sometime. It's just it's the nature of the game. But when you understand how things work, you're able to systematically push through it and reduce your risk. That's what this whole thing about finance, business, life is about: reducing your risk. You're not going to eliminate risk and live in this life. You can try your best to eliminate risk, go off somewhere isolated and just live your life, but you will never really truly go after the things you think you want and elevate your quality of life and do things that fulfill you without risk. It just doesn't happen. But your job is to reduce the risk. How do you reduce the risk? Learn how the game is played. And so that's my thing. Pick up a book, start reading. I have a free guide out there now, which is good, especially for kids and people who are not as sophisticated in the world of finance. And it's nothing wrong with where you're at. All of us started somewhere. All of us are still learning, and that's okay. But you've got to start. You've got to pick up a book. You've got to read. You've got to take some courses. You've got to go to some seminars. And I know they come a dime a dozen. Find the ones that seem to have consistency. Find the ones that people seem to know what they're talking about. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Um, that has never failed me. If it sounds too, now every now and then that's this unicorn where it's actually as good as it sounds and it delivers above expectations, but that's not the norm. That's not the law. That's the exception to the rule. So if it sounds too good to be true, be extremely skeptical. Find the thing. If it demands you to put effort, energy, work in, if it demands you to be patient, if it demands you to take intensive course of action, then that's probably a good place to start. And that's not just in finance. That's in anything you're pursuing. The thing that tells you it's going to take some time. The thing that tells you you're going to have to be invested. The thing that tells you you need to amp your game up in understanding. Those are legitimate demands of life. And someone that's talking on that level, on that scope, is probably someone that has done it or has been around people who have done it and can explain it to you. But it's no place you can't go. It's whether you are willing to put the time, energy, and effort into going. That is what it's about. Are you willing to go the distance in order to have the things you want financially, in your career, in your relationships? And how does it look for you? Have a clear vision of what it is that you want to do with your life, with your finances. What do you want to leave your children? What legacy do you want to leave this world? What impact do you want to make? And what does that look like on a ledger? How much will it cost to live that life? Know your number. I said this last week: know your number, know what it's going to cost to live that life. And then when you know that, now go get that number and do it systematically. Do it and demand more of yourself, you will be surprised what you're capable of doing, even in the most difficult of times, when you refuse to relent, when you make a commitment to go all in, and when you are at a place where nothing will stop you. So much of what I've been blessed to do in my life is because I didn't quit, because I was relentless, not because I was the smartest person in the room, not because of the degrees that I had, not because of whatever. It was because I didn't let no stop me. I didn't let me stumbling stop me. I didn't let people talking behind my back stop me. I didn't let fear stop me. I just made up in my mind that if it's big enough and important enough for me to want it, it's important enough for me to be committed to doing the things that are necessary to have it. And so that's what I'm sharing with you. That's what I'm giving you. So the first thing is to start developing a level of understanding of how finance works in every area that you plan on putting your hand in. You need to understand it. Start reading books, start attending seminars, webinars, take courses. It's going to require you to know. But the thing is, most people are sitting out there and believing they can't have something because they don't know. And then there are people out there who are trying to get it, but because they don't understand, they are losing, and then they're training themselves through this process, this psychological process called learned helplessness, that it's impossible. And actually, it's just about shifting how you move and understanding. Don't ever engage stuff you don't understand, because the thing is, the people who understand that are participating are going to use your lack of understanding, or in simple, your ignorance, to manipulate, control, and victimize you. And so on that note, look, I'm gonna get ready to get out of here. As I always say, I live my life on full so that when I leave this place, I die on E. Um, I am going to be dropping in on you probably a little later today to talk to you about my latest book, book number 28, by the way, um, Healed and Whole. And we're going to go into some deep places about how we heal ourselves, beyond nutrition, beyond exercise. I'm going to talk to you about epigenetics. I'm going to talk to you about spiritual energy, how we create energy, how that energy impacts our body, how our thoughts attack our immune systems. We're going to talk about all that in this book. I've been lecturing on it now for years. I've got a symposium series going here in Houston, and it's dealing with a lot of inner city issues, but in how that impacts life expectancy. Oh, it's a great thing, and I'm excited about it. So stay tuned for that. But whatever it is you're doing, make up in your mind that you want to master it. And once you make up in your mind that you want to master it, step by step, every day, wake up and do something. My mantra every day is no 0 days, no excuses. And what no 0 days means, I can't go to sleep the same person that woke up. I've got to learn something. I've got to get stronger in the gym. I've got to get wiser in my evaluations and analysis. And I've got to take on more understanding and knowledge so that I can be better equipped to do the things that I want to do in this world. So no day goes by without me reading, without me studying, without me conducting some form of research on a scientific level, without me engaging people who I hold in high regard, who have certain expertises outside the scope of my expertise. I love being around people who know things I don't. I challenge you to take on that same challenge. No 0 days, no excuses. On that note, look, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have an unbelievable remainder of your day. I've got to get ready for a client. So you guys take care. I'm out of here. Have an unbelievable remainder.